As people grow older, there is a common belief that society quietly repeats. It suggests that love has already passed, that the stirrings of emotion and the longing for connection belong only to the past. Many assume that after the age of 65, we are meant to live with memories, with our children and grandchildren, and with the quietness of an old home, rather than holding on to hopes for a new relationship. But the truth is different. The human heart does not understand the idea of age. It continues to long for attention, to be heard, to be cared for, and above all to feel that it still matters to someone. Love after 65 is not a copy of the romance we experienced in our youth. It does not begin with shy glances or promises of a long future ahead. It begins with deep understanding. It comes from a sense of safety and simply being together. It is rooted in the freedom of choosing to stay. At this age, we no longer love because we need someone by our side. We love because we want to walk through the years ahead with someone in a way that brings more meaning to life. This article is not here to paint a picture of late-in-life love as some kind of dreamy fairy tale. It is an invitation. It speaks to those who may be feeling lonely, to those who have quietly asked themselves whether the chance to connect and share still exists. This is a gentle call to open your heart one more time. Together, we will explore the real emotions behind the silence. We will look at what friendship and love truly mean at this stage of life. And we will take practical steps toward building lasting relationships. Now that we understand ourselves better than ever before. One quiet weekend morning in the soft light of the sun, John sat at his usual coffee shop. Across from him was Linda, his Sunday newspaper companion. They did not need to name what they were to each other. They simply shared the moment. And perhaps that is what love looks like in our later years. One, understanding loneliness after the age of 65. Loneliness is not simply about living alone in a quiet house. For many older adults, loneliness is the feeling of being forgotten. It is the sense of being present in a room full of people, yet feeling as though no one truly sees you. It is the silence of the afternoon when no one calls to check in. It is when dinner is made for one. It is when the laughter of loved ones becomes a distant echo from the past. Loneliness in later life can exist even when someone has a family and grandchildren. Evelyn is one example. She still lives in the old house where she raised her 3 children. The family photos still hang along the hallway walls. But now her children have families of their own and are busy with work and responsibilities. They love her and still visit, but between those brief visits are long stretches of days where she is alone with her radio and the sound of the wind outside her porch. The causes of the loneliness at this age come from many unavoidable changes. Retirement often means losing a social role that shaped your life for decades. The loss of a spouse leaves a space no one else can fill. Old friends become fewer. Modern life has spread generations farther apart, both physically and emotionally. And perhaps most painfully, many people begin to believe a quiet and harmful idea, that they are too old to love again, to make new friends, or to begin something new. Social judgment only deepens that silence. When an older adult says they wish for someone to talk to, or someone to hold hands with during a walk, they are often met with pity or surprise. That simple longing is viewed as inappropriate, as if the need for connection belongs only to the young. This silence stretches on, and over time, many begin to believe they are a burden, someone whose worth has faded in the eyes of others. But the truth is, this loneliness is not a weakness. It is a quiet reminder that human beings need one another. Research from the National Institute on Aging in the United States shows that social isolation can lead to depression, cognitive decline, and even a higher risk of early death. Loneliness does not just wound the spirit. It also affects physical health in real and measurable ways. That is why the first step is not to deny it, but to name it. To admit that you feel empty is the first step towards healing. From there, each person can find their own path back to connection, whether through a call to an old friend, a visit to a local gathering, or simply opening up to the neighbor just a few steps away. Loneliness may be a part of growing older, but it does not have to define what this stage of life means. 2. A new definition of love and friendship. When we are young, love often comes with clear expectations. People fall in love to get married, to live together, to build a family, and to share financial responsibilities. Relationships are measured by milestones such as wedding anniversaries, Years of living under one roof or goals accomplished together. But after the age of 65, when many social roles have faded into the background, love no longer needs to carry the same burdens. It is finally allowed to return to its truest form, a pure connection between two souls. Love in later life does not always need a label. There is no need to call each other boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife. What matters more is the feeling of being understood, accepted, and fully present. It could be the person you call each evening just to ask, "How was your day?" It might be someone you can sit beside for hours without speaking, simply knowing they are there quietly but warmly. Frank, age 74, once said, "I no longer need someone to build a house with. I just want someone to make tea with me in the morning and listen to my wandering stories. That is enough." In a world that has long defined love by results, this kind of simplicity and sincerity may seem rare, but it is deeply real in old age. Friendship also changes with time. It is no longer about big gatherings or long road trips. Friendship after 65 is more like a quiet river. You may not see each other often, but when it matters, that person is always there. They are the one who sends a message on your birthday, just to say you are remembered. They invite you to walk around the park without needing a reason. They sit beside you at a memorial service, holding your hand tightly without needing to say a word. Some relationships do not need to be clearly defined. Two people may not live together or share any legal ties, yet they are one another's emotional anchor. They might meet a few times a week, cook dinner together, watch the evening news, then return to their separate homes. They maintain their independence while still feeling the warmth of belonging. This is a kind of connection that is not forced, not possessive, but entirely real. One of the greatest gifts of this new way of loving is freedom. The freedom to be yourself. The freedom not to change for someone else. The freedom not to pretend or hold up a perfect image. When we are young, we often try to become the best version of ourselves to please a partner. But after going through the ups and downs of life, we learn that being loved for who we truly are is what matters most. Another gift is peace. There is no longer pressure for the relationship to go somewhere. There is no need to fit a social mold. Every day spent together is a choice, not a duty. And that makes each moment more meaningful, because nothing is assumed and nothing is guaranteed. This new understanding of love and friendship after 65 is not a retreat. It is a deeper step into the inner world. It allows us to connect without losing ourselves. It frees us from expectations and makes every shared moment more honest, more grounded, and more complete. 3. Overcoming barriers to begin again. For many people after the age of 65, there is a quiet question that often lingers in the background. Is it still possible for me to start a new relationship? This question is rarely spoken aloud, but it sits quietly in lonely afternoons, in the softened gaze that rests on an older couple holding hands on the street. And alongside that question, there are often a series of emotional barriers that cause hesitation before the heart even gets a chance to open. One of the first barriers is the fear of being judged. In a society that tends to associate growing older with slowing down and settling quietly, the idea of an older adult expressing the desire for romance or companionship can be met with surprise or even quiet disapproval. Many ask themselves, am I too old for love? Such thoughts, whether whispered by others or quietly formed within, can carry a powerful weight that holds the heart back. The second barrier is memory. For those who once shared a deep and meaningful marriage, opening the heart to someone new can come with a sense of guilt, as if loving again would betray the person they once cherished, as if moving forward would erase the life that came before. But memories do not need to be erased for new love to begin. They can exist together like different chapters in a long and beautiful book. Loving someone new does not mean forgetting someone from the past. It simply means allowing your heart to keep living. Many also hesitate at the thought of starting over. After a lifetime of settled routines, the idea of introducing yourself again, sharing your habits, finding common ground, and hearing the same stories told in new voices can feel exhausting. But beginning again does not always have to be a tiring journey. Sometimes it starts with something as simple as a hello at a community gathering, a handshake at a painting class, or a quiet question in the bookstore aisle. The way to move through these barriers is not to force them away, but to walk through them with gentleness and patience. It begins with a shift in perspective. rather than seeing a new relationship as a responsibility or a task to build from scratch. Try to see it as a way to enrich the life you already have. A companion is not someone who arrives to fill your empty spaces. They are someone who shares what is already there. Believing in your own worth is key. After so many years of living, each person carries unique experiences, deep lessons, and a personality shaped by time. Love at this age does not need perfection. It needs honesty. Trust that you, with your wrinkles, a calm spirit, and your hard-earned sense of humor, are exactly what someone out there is hoping to find. One gentle way to begin again is by joining community activities. Not with the pressure of finding a partner right away, but simply to widen your circle. Book clubs, yoga classes, morning walking groups, or volunteer efforts are wonderful places to meet people who move at a similar rhythm, and in those casual conversations, something meaningful may quietly begin, without force or expectation. The story of the Rus is a lovely reminder of this. After losing her husband at age 70, she believed she would spend the rest of her life alone. But then she joined a local volunteer group that helped clean the city parks. It was during those unpaid afternoons that she met Charles, a kind and quiet man with a gentle sense of humor. They started with shy greetings, then shared coffee. And before long, neither of them felt quite so alone anymore. Beginning again does not mean forgetting all that came before. It means giving yourself permission to continue. It is the belief that good things still lie ahead. And sometimes it all begins with a very small step. A step so small yet so full of hope. For the role of boundaries in love. When we are young, love is often seen as the act of sharing everything. It is doing everything together, making sacrifices for one another, and trying so hard to blend lives that we sometimes forget who we are as individuals. But after years of living and learning, after facing both joy and loss, many people come to understand that lasting relationships are not built on constant closeness alone. They are sustained by the ability to hold space for each person to remain whole. That is where the essential role of boundaries comes in. Boundaries in love are not walls. They are not signs of distance or detachment. They are expressions of respect both for the other person and for yourself. Boundaries allow us to keep our sense of identity. They preserve the habits, preferences, and rhythms that make us who we are, even within a deeply connected relationship. Martin is someone who lives this truth. Each morning he rises early, sits by the window, and reads quietly with a cup of tea. Joyce, his companion, prefers to begin her day with a slow walk through the park. They do not try to change each other. They are not hurt by their differences. They simply enjoy their separate routines and meet for lunch, where they share stories about how their morning went. What might seem like a gap becomes a source of richness, not conflict. Keeping personal boundaries in a relationship is not a sign of distance. It is the foundation of a healthy and lasting love. When each person is free to be themselves, there is no pressure to conform or to disappear into the other. This creates a stronger bond, one rooted in real choice, not obligation or fear of loneliness. Boundaries also help prevent the quiet resentment that can slowly damage a relationship over time. When someone constantly sacrifices their personal time interests or honest emotions to please their partner, it may feel like love at first. But without balance and mutual understanding, the sacrifice can turn into exhaustion and disappointment. Boundaries protect the relationship from that slow erosion. Practicing healthy boundaries requires open and clear communication. From the beginning, talk about your needs. Share how much time you need alone, what activities bring you peace, and what makes you uncomfortable. The more clearly you express yourself, the easier it is to be understood. Older adults often have a unique strength in this area. They have lived long enough to know what they want and what they do not want. They no longer feel the need to please others the way they once might have in their younger years. Respecting each other's time and space is also an act of love. It means you do not feel rejected if your partner wants a quiet afternoon alone. It means you understand that silence is not coldness, but sometimes a way to restore inner energy. The more we learn to step back when needed, the closer we often become. Learning to say no is part of this process too. When you can turn down something that does not feel right for you, you are creating a relationship that is honest. Saying no does not take away love. It makes every yes more meaningful and sincere. Boundaries do not lessen love. They give it room to breathe. like two trees planted near each other. They cannot grow strong if they are too close together. But if each has space and sunlight, if both are cared for and respected, they can grow side by side, and together they create a lasting living garden. If building emotional intimacy, when we are young, intimacy is often understood as physical closeness. But as we grow older, we begin to realize that there is another kind of intimacy, one that runs even deeper. It is emotional connection, the kind where two souls meet without rush, without having to prove anything, simply by being themselves. Emotional intimacy does not rely on labels. The other person may not be a partner, a spouse, or even someone you live with. But when they are near, you feel lighter. When they listen, you no longer feel lost. And when they sit quietly beside you, you do not feel alone. It is the calm and ease of those shared moments that reveal the depth of a relationship. Henry and Clara met at a local book club. They did not have much in common except a love for old novels. Every now and then they called each other, read a chapter together, and shared their thoughts. Neither asked about the past. Neither tried to change the other. Through those pages and small conversations, a quiet bond formed, and the special thing was that neither of them felt the need to give that relationship a name. Emotional intimacy does not need grand gestures. Sometimes it begins with sharing a childhood memory, speaking about an unfinished dream, or admitting a fear that has never been spoken aloud. It is in those moments of openness that the distance between two people begins to shrink. Vulnerability no longer feels like something to hide. It becomes a bridge that brings hearts closer together. Regular communication is a powerful way to nurture this closeness. A short phone call in the evening, a kind message after a medical appointment, a morning greeting sent with care. All of these can become gentle threads that keep two people connected. When done with sincerity, these small actions build a sense of familiarity and show that someone is there steadily and warmly. Another important part of emotional intimacy is the ability to listen without judgment. When someone opens up, they do not always need advice or solutions. They need presence. Older adults often carry thoughts and feelings that have gone unspoken for years. To have a companion who knows when to be silent, when to nod, when to simply stay beside you, that is a rare and meaningful gift. In a world that is increasingly loud and hurried, emotional intimacy is what reminds us we are not invisible. It gives us the feeling of being seen, being understood, being accepted. It does not require promises or grand romantic gestures. It only asks that two people show up with honesty and say, "I see you, I understand you." And when that happens, love does not need any special form. Because deep down, you know you are no longer alone. 6. The gifts of love after age 65. Love in later life is not the same as the love we knew in our younger years. It does not shine as brightly as spring nor burn as fiercely as summer. Instead, it carries the quiet ripeness and gentle warmth of an autumn afternoon. After the age of 65, when nurtured with care, love becomes more than just a source of joy. It becomes a balm that soothes both the heart and the body. One of the most beautiful gifts of love in this stage of life is wisdom. After decades of living, loving, losing, and healing, people begin to see clearly what truly matters. Love is no longer about appearances or labels or possession. It is about the peace you feel in someone's presence, the comfort of not having to pretend, and the fullness of being able to simply be yourself. At this age, people do not seek someone to complete them. They simply want a companion, someone to share a meal with, to watch the evening news with, to remember old stories or imagine quiet dreams that still linger. This simplicity becomes the foundation for a love that is steady and deep. Another benefit is the absence of drama. In youth, relationships often come with pressure. Marriage, children, careers, finances. By the time we reach our later years, much of that pressure has passed. Love at this stage is no longer shaped by duty or expectation. It survives because two people want to be together, not because they have to be. And when a connection is built on pure choice, every moment together feels more meaningful. Emotional well-being also improves with a loving relationship. Studies show that older adults who are in healthy, supportive relationships experience lower rates of depression, feel more hopeful, and enjoy a better overall quality of life. Sometimes just having someone to share the day with can ease the sense of isolation in a fast-changing world. Elaine and Thomas are a lovely example. They met in a painting class when both were already in their 70s. Neither was looking for anything serious. But as they blended colors and painted landscapes side by side, they began to realize the true value was not the artwork itself, but the time spent together. Now they still meet each week. No promises are needed, no big plans required. Just the joy of each other's company in the moment that is right now. Often the greatest happiness comes from the smallest things. An evening walk before sunset, a warm cup of tea on a chilly morning, a quiet conversation that needs no words. At this age, happiness is no longer complicated. Just having someone to sit with in silence and not feel alone, that is enough. Love after 65 is not only possible, it is something deeply worth having, because it fills the heart, yes, but it also lights up the years ahead with the kind of gentle warmth and honest presence that youth in all its rush may have overlooked. 7 practical ways to build new friendships after 65. After years of living with calm and quiet, taking the first step to seek new friendships may not come easily. But just like planting a seed, even the smallest action, if done with patience and sincerity, can slowly bring something fresh and meaningful into life. Friendship at any age always begins with simple steps. One of the most effective ways to expand your circle is to join community activities. This might be an art class where you can express your creativity while meeting others who share your passion. It could be a morning walking club at the local park, where conversations often begin with a friendly smile and a hello. Or it might be a volunteer group where your time and energy not only benefit others, but also introduce you to warm-hearted people walking a similar path. Walter, now 69, had lived alone for many years, before signing up for a pottery class at the local community center. At first, he attended just to fill his afternoons. But during those quiet moments of shaping clay, he began to chat with Margaret, who always arrived early to sit by the window. Their short exchanges turned into coffee dates after class. And from there, a beautiful friendship gently began to grow. Technology can also be a valuable tool when used thoughtfully. Today, there are dating and friendship platforms designed especially for older adults, such as Our Time or Silver Singles. In addition, online forums and interest-based groups on social media offer chances to connect without leaving the comfort of home. What matters most is keeping an open mind, being patient, and allowing things to unfold naturally. When seeking new connections, try not to expect perfection. No one will ever match the exact image you may hold in your mind. What truly matters is how safe you feel in someone's presence, how mutual respect flows between you, and how freely you can share without fear of being judged. You can also draw strength from the stories of others. Read inspiring reflections, listen to podcasts on aging and connection, or attend senior-focused workshops. Hearing the voices of those who have walked a similar path can remind you that you are not alone on this journey. Friendship does not arrive through rushing or chasing. It blooms from a heart willing to open again. Every small gesture, a conversation, a greeting, a shared activity is like a seed. And when you nurture those seeds with gentle care, something beautiful will blossom right on time. Closing thoughts. Love after 65 is not rare or out of reach. It is a quiet, meaningful journey where we learn to reconnect, not just with others but with ourselves. After years spent caring for families, fulfilling responsibilities, and meeting expectations, this is the season to love by choice, to love freely, to love simply because it feels right, not because of any pressure. Together we have walked through many honest emotions, from the quiet ache of loneliness to the deep desire to be understood. We have explored a new definition of love and friendship, the importance of healthy boundaries, the quiet power of emotional intimacy, and the gentle healing that a mature relationship can bring. Each part is a small step, but when brought together, they form a map for the heart that still longs quietly to open again. There's no perfect formula for building friendship or love at this age, but one thing is certain, you are never too old to begin. Every conversation, every handshake, every time you allow yourself to open up is a chance to experience life in a deeper and more tender way. If you have ever wondered, can I still find someone to share the little things with? The answer is yes, and that journey can begin today. With something as simple as stepping outside, offering a smile, or saying hello to someone new. Thank you for spending your time with this message. If you found these reflections meaningful, we invite you to like, share, and subscribe to Light of Wise Elders. This is a space where kind stories, warm wisdom, and hopeful moments come together for those embracing life fully after 65. Because sometimes all it takes to brighten a day is a story like this.